Welcome to Table Talk, the place for deep conversations in the Geekverse. And trust me, when we tear into a subject, we go deep. I'm Heath, and I'll be your host. Each episode, I'll be talking with one or more creators, authors, illustrators, publishers, or other movers and shakers in games, TV, books, movies, or other areas of the Geekverse. Regular guests include Douglas A. Burton, the author of Faraway Bird, a multi-award-winning historical fiction novel of the Byzantine Empress Theodora. He's also the author of The Heroine's Labyrinth, an alternative story structure to the hero's journey that often occurs in stories with feminine heroes. That structural framework frequently comes up in our analysis of story. Brianna De Silva, she's the director and co-writer of The Cultists, a Lovecraftian comedy mockumentary-style web show here on YouTube, and the author of The City of Reckoning, an epic fantasy novel of political intrigue, the ethics of war, and young love. Cameron Pasha is a screenwriter, director, novelist, and was a writer and producer on the series Kings, a producer on NBC's Bionic Woman, and a co-producer and writer for Sleeper Cell. He's also written for the CW series Nikita and Roswell, New Mexico. He's been breaking news from inside Lucasfilm, Disney, and Hollywood. His analysis and commentary have become very popular on YouTube. We regularly meet to discuss and analyze stories, and when we do, we dive into graduate-level seminars on story structure and writing. Come on in and let's go deep. And when I say we're going deep, I mean you'd better bring your hard suit. Other guests have included Lou Anders, the author of the Thrones and Bones fantasy novels Once Upon a Unicorn, the creator and publisher of the Norengard RPG, and the author of Star Wars: A Pirate's Price, the book that explains why the Millennium Falcon is on the planet Batu at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Mark Tassin, the creator of the World of Ataltis, head of Mechanical Muse, former director of the Gen Con Writers Symposium, and the head developer of the new Cool Name RPG. Let's see, who else?
Bond. James Bond.
Well, not James Bond. Not yet. Maybe soon, though. But I have interviewed Jamie Stegmaier, the founder of Stonemaier Games, crowdfunder extraordinaire, and publisher of many hit board games like Scythe and Wingspan. Brian Colin, sculptor of the world of Revelo Monster Busts, and the creator of the vast, grim, dark horror RPG. Ajit George, the Dungeons & Dragons author. We talked about game writing, education, and his contribution to Van Richter's Guide to Ravenloft, and the development of the Journeys to the Radiant Citadel.
I am Hela, Odin's firstborn, commander of the legions of Asgard, the rightful heir to the throne, and the goddess of death.
Well, actually, that interview got rather spicy, so I think I'd better just keep that one to myself. Kate Wilson, a YouTuber, actress, host, and prolific geek guru who's now working to make a new show dedicated to the world of tabletop gaming a reality. So buckle up and get ready for a wild ride, because it's time to explore the worlds of tabletop gaming, sci-fi, fantasy, and all of geekdom through the eyes of those who are making things happen.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
It's time for Table Talk. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my home, welcome to the office, and welcome to Table Talk. I am so glad to have you here. Tonight, we are going to be watching a horror story, a horror short film, which is a horror story, by Brennan Martignoni, who is one of the people who has been within our circles for filmmaking with the Cultists and all of this, and also hopefully Rachel Marshall will be here with us as well. So this is one of those times where we, sort of put our money where our mouth is, and we're going to be watching this short film live, and then be doing commentary and critique of it and discussion of what it is. Because as we've said before here, we are people here on Table Talk who are not only critics, but we are people who actually do things. Whether that's creating stories, or as far as a novel goes, or whether that is web series, or whether it is a short film, or whether it is the comic books, or all the different things that we do here, we are people here on Table Talk who actually do things. And so this is definitely an episode that is focused on that. So I'm very glad to have everyone here with us tonight. I will say that, I was sick the other day and I have not gotten any better, and I am drugged up right now. But if I have to cut out, well, it's because I've had some kind of coughing fit. But fortunately, there are other people who are here, so they can just take over for me. But if I have to go, that's why. All right, we've got bringing together a fantastic panel. Here we go. So first of all, we have Brianna De Silva, who is joining us. Hello, Brianna. Welcome,
Hello.
welcome. We've got Douglas A. Burton. Welcome, Doug.
I will be Heath's stunt double for the evening if anything should happen.
Right. If anything goes wrong, then you come in. Okay. Now, the creator of the short film is Brennan. So welcome, Brennan. We've got Brennan here.
That was so dramatic.
That was very dramatic.
Howdy, partners.
And then also we've got Rachel, who I would say Brennan was our director of photography for The Cultists. He was also our editor. He was also basically an associate producer on season 1. So, so Brennan is definitely a major part of our creative output here. So this is now what he's doing beyond that. Rachel here. Welcome, Rachel.
Excuse me. Pardon me. I was going to say, Sean helped me troubleshoot some technical stuff, so I thought I'd have him do a quick cameo with some hot sauce.
Okay.
Nice.
So
thanks so much for having me.
Rachel was Shay in The Cultists, and then also is an actress in Veal, which is the movie we were watching tonight.
The actress, the one and only.
I'm super, super happy and grateful I got to share the screen with my co-actress guy. Like super duper mega shout out to Guy. I believe we had a work scheduling thing for him today. So we're excited to be here for both of us.
Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate that you're also repping the Pride theme tonight.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
June energy.
All right. Well, Brennan, do you want to give us an introduction into what it is that you've created and what we're going to be watching?
No, but I will.
Okay.
So I don't want to get too much into it until after, but essentially it's the story of a very odd woman who lets a stranger in her house for a meal.
Oh dear.
Goes from there.
Sounds like a bad idea.
Yikes.
It goes great.
It's a good idea.
But this is in the horror genre? I mean, we're watching the horror.
One could argue that it is, yes.
Okay, so this is the horror genre. Okay.
What other genre could it be?
It could be just a plain drama. It could be maybe a little like a psychological something or other. I don't really know. I thriller is a bit strong. Yeah, kind of tense. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't have a genre in mind. Doing it.
You have been taking this to film festivals?
Yeah. I went to a few festivals. Honestly, I didn't keep track with a lot of them, so I don't know how it did at most of them. At Sidewalk, it didn't get nominated. Well, it didn't win anything, but it came close to winning a couple of things.
Awesome.
From what I heard. I didn't get to go to the ceremony.
So it can be there without you?
What?
I mean,
so it can be there without you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, you can send your film throughout the whole world. And some film festivals will like pay for you to come in if you've been accepted, but many will not.
Oh wow, nice.
Like if you can get here, you can get here.
Yep.
I will say for Sidewalk, it was really fun to watch this and like hear how quiet the theater got. And there were a couple of beats within the short where just you felt people go like, and that was an incredible experience. And
it's got to be amazing observing live reactions to your work.
It was fun. It feels like a really, really good day at the office and like a really good, like, I guess just like day on the job when you can be in that environment and see how your audience is responding, especially for something where you would have an audience like a play or a film, and just seeing people kind of just shift and just those occasional creaks in the chair and those occasional like just that like the throat tightening up kind of vibe of the theater was really fun with this one. So it just, as somebody who was in it, and then you get a little removed from it just from the process of post and things going through festivals, to be in the theater and kind of see the final product and see how people are reacting to it. It's pretty fun.
Seconded. Could not have said it better.
All right. Well, then maybe we should just jump in and start watching, and then
Let's do it.
respond to everything. Oh, PH says I really enjoyed the film. So
Oh.
PH is already watching.
Wow.
It's available out there online. But if you haven't
Thanks,
watched it,
PH.
we're about to dive into this. And Sherry says, "Nice meeting Brennan and Rachel." So, thank you,
Nice
Sherry.
to meet you.
All right, I'm going to leave us up on the screen so people come in. They will see that we are here and what we are doing and what this is, and get the live reaction. But I'm going to go ahead and bring it up, and we'll get this started.
All right.
Well,
Awesome.
all right.
We should mute ourselves while we play it.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I'm going to
probably.
physically mute my as well. So okay. So here we go.
That was me.
Nope. I think I have to reload it. This happens every time that I will start it, and then I'll be like, "It's all queued up, it's ready to go," and
No,
then I have to actually reload the video. So let's just try this. There we go.
Take your time.
Jordan, so nice to finally meet you.
You too.
Come inside.
These are for you.
That was very sweet of you. I'll go put these in a vase.
Thank you. It smells great in here. Did you cook?
What?
I said, it smells great in here. Did you make something?
I did, actually. I thought that since this was such a special night, I would treat you to a nice meal first.
It's very kind of you.
Don't mention it. You haven't eaten already, have you?
No, I haven't really been able to stomach anything today.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You must be starving. I'll fix you a plate.
That's all right, Mrs. Webb. I don't know if I can manage it. What is that?
Have you never had veal before?
No.
Sit down. You're gonna love it. Veal is really just beef, except instead of waiting for the cow to mature, they slaughter it while it's still a calf. It's much more tender than your regular sirloin or flank.
It looks great, thank you.
You like it?
It's amazing. Are you not eating anything?
I'm saving my appetite.
Suppose that makes sense.
Hmm.
So, why did you decide to do this?
The truth is, I'm alone.
You don't have any family?
I did.
I'm sorry. What happened?
What about you? Why did you agree to this?
No. Why does anyone do anything?
Oh, come on. This is a big decision. You must have your reasons.
I guess I'm alone too. Why'd you pick me?
I'm sorry?
You must have had dozens of guys respond to your ad. Why'd you pick me?
Actually, there was only one other person, and you looked cleaner.
Oh,
No, don't let that make you sad. I want tonight to be special for you. You want that too, right?
yeah.
You want a release.
Yes.
Okay. Are you finished with this?
Yes.
Then let's go downstairs. What do you say? Well,
Sure. Why not?
I'll be gentle.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess everybody unmute themselves and so forth.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yes.
Cool. What
Thanks.
the fuck?
It's fine. They're fine.
That
Everything's
was,
fine.
that was very interesting. I wanted to
It
watch all
was-
the credits because I wanted to see who everybody was in it and all the roles. So that's why I did that. So
Yeah, thank you. They would definitely appreciate that.
Yeah.
Especially I kind of say the best, well, not the best for last, but because the actors go up front and there's a bunch of talented crew, but someone who really swung big there was Brooke with the score, which is man, she had a lot to live up to, because what I wanted the original ending song to be was Pyramid Song by Radiohead, which was just the perfect song for the film, but copyright and all that. And she was able to really like take the idea behind it and the spirit of it and make it her own and really like tie the whole piece together. So Brooke, if you're out in the ether somewhere, thank you. You did great.
Yeah.
Question:
Yeah,
was there sorry, just one. Was there soundtrack earlier and I didn't notice it, or was it silent? Because I can't remember.
There was some like ambient rumbling noises.
Okay,
It wasn't soundtrack though. That was something that I found from Art List, I think.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
It was effective because I wasn't aware of it. I was just uneasy. So that's good.
Good.
Well, yeah, I was taking a few notes here as well, and the score definitely stood out because the meeting between the two was ambiguous. Then it was awkward. Then it was atypical. Like clearly, it wasn't what we thought it was. And then the music gave it a tenderness almost, which set. It kind of established this as a positive meeting in some way between these two people, that they had agreed to this. So I don't know. I thought you're right. I thought it tied it together in a perfect way. While the audience is guessing where this was going, this gave us a tone to set as it concluded.
So
Yeah,
P.H. Arbex
yeah,
says,
thank you.
amazing. The film makes all this situation a very tender meeting.
Yeah, there's that word again.
Bacon Gaming, James says, thanks, I hate it. I mean that in the best way possible. Sherry Lee says the score was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Sherry. It totally agreed. And the tenderness that everyone's talking about, I mean, that does stem from the score, but also from Rachel too, as Mrs. Webb. Like, I could not have cast a better person for the role. I mean, having worked with you on The Cultist, I knew you were going to crush it. And we auditioned a couple of people, but nobody. I mean, you were the person. Like, I kind of wrote it with you in mind. Well, ish, but. Yeah.
And that's a really hard role to do. So it's like there's that element of this is like a creepy villain, but she's so sympathetic, and it's like this meeting of like there's this consensual thing that they're deciding.
I was just gonna say there's like
it's like all those complexities are really hard to nail, and I think you did it perfectly, Rachel. It was a great job.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say something very similar, where when you have an awkward, atypical scene, right? You have characters that this isn't a typical meeting, this isn't a typical occurrence. So it's really difficult, I would imagine, as an actor, to know exactly how to what tone you're trying to go for, what mood you're trying to set. And I noticed consistently through the whole thing that the acting was very solid in delivering something that was like believable and had its own tone, despite the awkwardness of the unusual nature of this apparent meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like, I mean, the first time, I mean, I'd never worked with Guy before this short, and so we have these two characters who have connected online for various reasons, or one specific reason, and it was pretty easy to capture that hey kind of moment, because we had never worked together before. We had never really met before, and it translated really well. And we definitely checked in with each other a lot. There were lots of conversations as we went, just being like, are you okay with this? Are you cool with this? Does this feel good? Do you want to work on this more? There's so much communication that goes into scene work, and because at the end of the day, even if you're playing characters, you're still coworkers. And, this was basically like, okay, this is our first day in the office. And this is really going to be our only time in the office. And unless, obviously we do something in the future. But so a lot of that, like, okay, I'm just meeting you for the first time energy was pretty easy to translate into the scene work very naturally, because it really was the first time we'd ever worked together. So, yeah. And just to kind of harken back to Brooke and just the overall score, I like how we do have this pulse of sound in the beginning, and then we have our score in the very end. And I like how there is this bubble where it just belongs to these two characters. It's very private. So to not have a score kind of like tickling the background of that scene and just having it be their space, I really like how that sound fades out and then fades back in as a bookend for the short in that way.
Well, and also there was periods of silence in between the conversation that complemented the dialogue. I picked up right away when the first character pulls up and parks, you're just kind of sitting in that parking space for a while, and I appreciated that watching. I was like, okay, we're not rushing through these scenes. We're like settling in even right away. To what would otherwise be a mundane moment, because the film is focused on it. You're like, okay, wow, what's going on? What is he thinking twice about something? Which now that I've seen it, I can be like, oh yeah, he was definitely maybe wondering something in the final.
Yeah, it wasn't just like, oh gosh, I hope she likes me. Kind of pause in the car. It's like, I hope she likes me, and also, do I want to do this? Like,
Well,
am I sure? Yeah.
An apprehension before meeting somebody is totally normal. Right. So it's easy to like identify with the moment, even though we're not understanding it the first.
It's a bit of a redirection, like you think exactly. It's for a different reason, right?
Yeah, that was good. I really like that.
Oh, Keith.
I would say there was a director statement that I found online about this film, and I was putting that out to so that's why I was wondering if it was before or after, something like that. Do you want to you didn't want to do that in advance, but do you want to talk about the director statement after the show, like, and what this was, why you created it and why you did it, what this means, what the inspiration for this was?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what I said before, because I have no memory.
Well, you want me to read it? So I'll read you what I found. Okay, so the director statement that I found says this film was created after hearing about a strange murder that occurred in Germany in 2001. A man had posted an ad on a website similar to Craigslist declaring he wanted to consume someone, and oddly enough, someone volunteered. Though this film is markedly different than what happened in that grotesque evening, I wanted to explore what that might have been, what that night might have been like, and why these two people did what they did, but also to direct the tone away from the shock and awe and toward a more sympathetic lens.
I said that?
Well, that's what it says the director statement is.
Was that Jack?
That wasn't another director.
That must have been somebody else. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Well, do you take any of that?
No, I did say that.
Okay.
It's come back to me. I did say that. And that's really accurate. That's exactly why I wanted to make the film. I'm about to finish my third short film, and through all of them I've come to realize that the one theme in all of them that's present is the idea of strangers coming together over something. I don't know why I like that, but I do. And this was one particularly strange instance that I don't know if I succeeded or failed in really like finding an answer to that question, but I think we gave it a solid shot.
Well, now that I've heard the director's statement and I get some idea of the origin of the concept or the premise, it's almost like you're trying to get past the WTF of the article. It's like, what? And then you're like, well, what would that be like? What would this exchange? Like, what's the tone? Like, what is the mood there between these two people? It can't just be, hey, what's up? Let's do this. There's got to be, there's like a level of close or intimacy almost in this bizarre, horrifying. but you're trying to find that, and I think that's important. You're trying to go one layer past the WTF and looking a little deeper into trying to figure out what this might be.
Yeah,
there's a relationship. It's probably it's a one-off, but there's some relationship between these two people that is kind of alien, and you're like, well, let's explore it. Let's look at this.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brianna.
Oh, I was going to say, I would be really curious to know, like, what kind of conversations, Brennan and Rachel, that you guys had about this character, like what you were thinking about with her. I'm just curious.
I think I mean, personally, I wanted to play it as normal and down the line as possible.
Yeah.
I felt like if she was just like, oh, it's so good to see you, man, and like just licking chops and when he's not looking, like putting salt on him emotionally.
That would have been a different kind of tone. Yeah.
Different kind of tone. I wanted her to be like as normal and like, I wanted to play it as straight as possible.
That's perfect.
Because I felt like that would have been even more unsettling, because it's like, oh, like we're, this is she's a very sympathetic character. There's been loss in her life, and you can see a little bit of that in some clues hidden throughout the short. There's a very real person behind this character, and I liked the idea of just I think that was one thing we had kind of talked about, is it's just keeping it normal. And that is where the kind of uncanny valley of her would settle in towards the end, where it's like when we were watching it in the theater, almost everybody in the theater had that vibe that something was off, but they couldn't place it. And then finally by the end, the payoff would hit. And I think that what makes her unsettling is that she's just normal.
Human, right?
Yeah. There's
that's definitely the right call. Yeah, because if you would have tried to make her creepy, I think it would have. It's like blowing the cover too soon,
Yeah, and it's just not the point of the film.
Yeah.
Well, and
I think it would have cheapened Guy's performance too, to do that, to make her a little bit too over the top, and also the message that Brennan was going for too. And one thing that because we were all chatting today, and the one thing that Guy was talking about was filming this during a period of isolation, and having these two characters who confess to being alone. I think that kind of brings a lot of that home. There's a very gentle parallel to coming out of a period of just feeling so isolated, and what do you do in that isolation, and how do you connect in that isolation? And of course, horror movies like to take that concept and then go with it. So that's my perspective. Yeah.
There was a shot too that I liked a lot. You guys, the two characters go downstairs into the dark basement, and then
I don't know if you saw. I just like smiled when that shot came on.
So there was like there was a green. It looks like a greenhouse in a way.
Oh, I was thinking about the shot when he opens the door and looking.
Well, that's a great shot too, because it's such a contrast in light and darkness. But there was another shot that I liked too. It's right when so they go downstairs and you see this like vinyl, greenhouse. And that automatically puts off some red flag. But he goes in, and I think the temptation probably would have been to cut right there and to follow him in right. And instead he goes in, and you just see like there's silhouettes there, and the shot kind of just stayed outside the tent. For some reason, that really worked well, and
thank you.
I like that. I like that extended look without just cutting into the interior there.
PH says, you may say she's taking advantage of a very depressive guy, but the film shows a particular perspective. Prey and Hunter look for each other in acceptance. They become much more than their roles. Very interesting, PH.
Yeah, that's an interesting. People have very interesting perspectives on the film. Rachel, I don't know if you stuck around for it, but after all the shorts screened at Sidewalk, someone asked, so did she eat her daughter? And I was like, what?
No.
It totally threw me.
You just got to stare at the person asking the question with a deadpan expression and not say anything.
I kind of, but because I didn't understand. I thought I misheard her or something. I was like, I asked her to repeat it, and she did. And but no, it's just very interesting what people walk away with. I didn't think it was as had as many open ends as it does.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's fun to see what people come up with.
Well, and
People
kind of in
interpret
the
things
previous
their own.
question of like, did we have conversations? I think that was a conversation we had, is like, what do we think happened to the daughter? And I think like out of the gate, I was like, no, she didn't do that to her. I think that losing her daughter might have snapped something. Like, because it was a very conscious decision to keep like the colorful beaded bracelets on her wrist. And yeah, that was a fun one. I think that was one where like Megan and I kind of talked to. I was like, hey, I have these like these like beaded bracelets. Can I feel like she would wear these. I feel like these are her daughters. I forget who it was. It was either Megan who brought it up, or me, or you, Brennan. It's been a minute, so obviously
It was not
like,
me.
credit where credit is due. But yeah,
I think it was you, because we were in the middle of a take, or no, we had just done a take. And or maybe you were getting dressed in the costume or something. Yeah, you were getting dressed for the first day of shooting, which was the dinner scene, I believe.
Yeah.
And you had the bracelet on, and you were talking to me about like what you had come up with, and I was like, that's perfect, that's great, let's keep it in there. It totally fits. And then you can see in the film when she's asked about her family, she toys with that bracelet, which was, I think we landed on, that was like the last thing that her daughter made her or something like that.
That's funny how those ideas grow like that.
Yeah, and it's something that nobody really, like, without knowing that, without telling somebody that, they wouldn't know. But I think it really does add another layer there. And that's another reason why I'm happy I casted Rachel.
It's one of those things that you will take in a way subconsciously too. You know, it just like adds these textures to the characters, and I think I think it's good.
Yeah.
And also hardcore shout out to Megan, just because I really liked what she did with the costumes. And specifically for the costume that I was wearing, I really like, it was very fitted, and I don't know, there was a very great silhouette to the character. And I really liked everything Megan did with that. Like she has such an amazing eye and touch for that. I mean, you can see it on the Cultists too, because she did our costumes.
So Megan was the head of costuming for this.
Yes,
she was also our head of costuming for the Cultists.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that she was in this, but I just texted her and I said she can come on. She's not like 3 feet away from you, right, Brennan?
No, she's costuming right. No, she's doing wigs right now for Mary Poppins.
She's doing a show, so she's not available. I was like, because if she's like 4 feet on, to Brennan's left or something like that, she can come on.
Yeah, no, she would have been here, but duty calls. So
so she is doing that. But Megan, and you do see her on screen in season 2, but she was also her head of costuming for the Cultists and for this as well. I noticed that in the credits. That's why I was watching the credits.
I talked with her a lot. Like, honestly, Rachel, you and I did talk, but it was mostly about like the child and like the backstory. We didn't really talk about like mannerisms or anything about the character. But so I think I talked with Megan more than I really talked with the actors before we got on set. Most of our work with the character was done talking about the backstory, and then working through the scenes via like notes. Like, we would go all the way through the scene, and then we had a 2-camera setup, and we went all the way through the scene, and then I would just give a few notes to people. I don't know. It was a fun process.
So wait, so your role, Brennan, was as writer and director?
Yes, and I edited the film.
Writer, director, editor. So someone else was the director of photography. I noticed that in the comment.
Yes, our director of photography was Preston Little. It was originally supposed to be Jay Galloway, and he was unable to make it due to some scheduling conflicts. And so Preston graciously stepped in. He really wasn't sure if he felt ready for it, but he did a great job. And
he did. I thought the cinematography was beautiful. I just wanted to throw that out.
Kind of like what we were talking about with the creator. It was, we had a whole plan set up, and we followed it pretty much shot by shot. And he came in. A lot of it was, I did a lot of those ideas did come from me, and a lot of people, like, especially the fireplace being the source of light for the living room. A lot of people were antsy about that, and after editing it that first year of looking at it, I was like, I don't know if that worked or not, but looking at it now, I'm fine with it.
It looks great.
But yeah, Preston added a lot, especially at the downstairs because I had an idea of what I wanted to do, and it would not have worked. And Preston knew instantly when we got on set, like what I was looking for and what it was going to take to do it, and he was able to get it set up in like 10 minutes, and it looked great.
That's great when that happens.
Where was the shot, Brennan? Where did you shoot it?
This was shot at Kyle Sullivan's house, and he lives right smack in the middle of downtown Birmingham. Yeah, shout out to Kyle and Katie Sullivan.
I was gonna say he's literally right down the hill from me.
Yeah, I know, it's great. He's such a cool guy.
Yeah.
Gosh.
We got connected on the 24 or the 48-hour sprint. I think that was that where you were like we all got connected with Kyle? Like
that was
before, and I'd worked with you before, and then it was like, hey, these are good people and they should do stuff. And Peter was there too. So
yeah, that was man, I still really love that 48-hour film.
It was fun.
Yeah, there's still some of my favorite shots that I've ever shot in that one. Yeah, just good stuff. We've done good work, Rachel.
Yeah, well, and you know, I feel like, and this is all just a vehicle to just just give love to Kyle. He's a fantastic person to work with here in this area or anywhere. If you are on a film set and you're in Birmingham, or you are halfway around the world or at the top or the bottom of the world, and Kyle Sullivan shows up, then you're in good hands. You're gonna have a great time.
Which he might. He's a traveler. He's
exactly you could be literally in the North South Pole, and Kyle will probably be there, being like, "What's up, man?"
One of the best guys to have on set.
Yeah, that was her. Yeah, and beautiful home, and big shout out to you know, both of them for hosting us. Like, really.
How long did it take to shoot? How long?
Oh, that was my next question.
Shooting 2 or 3 days. I think it was 2.5 days.
2.5 days.
2.5 full days.
Yeah, it was a quick shoot.
Yeah, 2.5 full days.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
We were quick.
Yeah.
That turnaround was fast, and it was during WrestleMania weekend, so it was like when I would leave.
Oh
there,
yeah,
like,
it was.
I need to go see what happened. It was fun.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, are we good?
PH says, when I saw this film for the first time, I found she was so empathetic to the guy that I remembered demisexual people and instantly thought of demi-cannibal. I don't know what that is.
Oh, just
a kind of funny and sad concept, PH says.
That's funny.
What is demisexual?
Oh, God. Google the exact definition.
Demisexual would be like if you kind of need to get to know someone first before you feel sexual attraction.
As I say, also 100% subscribe to it. So yeah. It's that like the attraction comes from the emotional connection, and everything follows. Hearts not parts kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What is demi-cannibal?
Demi-cannibal.
That means you got to get to know somebody
emotional connection before you want to eat somebody. I say Brianna's like way ahead of me.
Now I got it.
I
love that comment. Like, you know, as somebody who definitely had to kind of like find their way through a couple of things, once I, you know, lighted upon that, I was like, oh wait, this makes a lot of sense and explains a lot of things. So yes, demi-cannibal. Hell yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Well, very insightful.
The soul is the seasoning. So I was gonna say, Sean helped me set everything up because like I had so many technical issues, and he was just like, the soul is the seasoning off camera. Just like, yes.
I have one question for that, like tent, whatever you want to call it, where the cannibalization was going to happen. What was that setup? Like what like on a practical level, like what was that?
You would have to ask Alex Machete, who set it up. I think it was some kind of painter's paper. And it was held up by painter's tape. I hope it looked good.
It was.
That's one of those. That's one of those things that if I were to go back and do it again, I would upgrade the whole downstairs setup just a little bit. But for the budget we had and like everything, I mean, I could not have asked for more. Alex pulled together a miracle getting all that done. I mean, really, it was a lot of work.
Yeah, we're always so critical on our own work, and we're like, oh, you know, there's something that I could have done a little bit, and everyone else is just like, looks great.
Yeah.
True artist over there.
Well, and you know, there's always such a challenge with like, you know, set design and everything is like you really want to see something lived in and practiced. And if this was like the first time she was doing something, I think it would have looked different than what we had. But it, to me, it gave off a sense of like, no, she knows what she's doing, but it's definitely like she's put it together with what resources she has. Like it's always nice to have something like bigger visually that you can present on camera, just because it is such like the way we tell stories in film is to show, not tell, et cetera, et cetera. But like, I kind of like that she made it work. Like, and it gave off that vibe of just like, yeah, she made it work. With what she had, she didn't want to be too obvious, because it gets really hard to, I guess, consume people if you're just, it's like, oh, Mrs. Webb, back for more tarp, are we? It's like,
and that's, that I don't know if anybody noticed this, but when he lays down on the table, it's all like, it's completely rolled over in saran wrap.
Mm-hmm.
Machete
I
came
felt so bad. Oh gosh, I was like, I don't want to get up, but I was like, I don't blame you, dude.
And you spent the right amount of time with her at work. Like it cut out right when you're like, oh my god, like what? How long?
Well,
okay,
you see as much as you need to understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was a pretty funny line. He's like, oh, you must have dozens of people sign up for this. In retrospect, in my mind, it's like, oh, people lining up for this one, huh?
In his mind,
not as much.
That's good.
He's unwell.
Are you sure?
Well, and even he kind of talked about like, when we were texting earlier today, and correct me if I'm off in remembering, because I don't have my phone right in front of me, but like I remember him talking about isolation and feeling desperate and feeling alone for that character, and I was just like, I really loved everything he did with that part. I think he really humanized it, of like just somebody just reaching that point, whatever that point is, and how illogical it is, and the momentum of making a decision like that. I like that his character is in a situation where he's lucky, I guess, to find a cannibal who's very much about, being consensual. Because there's even that part where he kind of like glances at the door, and there's that rack and pull with the door. And
I love that moment. Yeah.
Oh man, that was beautiful. That was a really fun shot to do too, because it was just like,
yeah,
that's one of my favorite things to do, is like to be like, okay, how does the frame set up, and what's the timing of this rack and pull, and then finding like that calculus and that rhythm of it is so fun. And it was such
But
a fun.
it was great because from the first, we did that maybe 2 or 3 times, and from the first take, Rachel instantly got the timing. Like she didn't have to find it. Like I don't know. She just like could see the camera guy like pull the focus, and she
just so you see that little grip, and you're like, okay, this is what we're doing now. Okay.
Yeah, and it was great. It was awesome. We never had to I don't think we had to redo anything for Rachel, like on account of like missing a line or this or that or the other. Like it was cool. It was great.
It was fun.
It was really fun. That's the thing. Everyone on the set like really brought their A game, and it was really cool to see, because everyone was there for free. It was a lot of favors called in, a lot of that sort of thing. Like I can pay you with food, and everyone brought it. Even the people I didn't know, like they were there. Yeah, and they did it, and I'm really, really thankful to everybody.
Yeah, awesome. and yeah, really, again, huge shout out to my wonderful, lovely scene partner. Like he was fantastic. I loved how like there was just like a lot of gentleness he brought to it, and then everybody on set, like crew wise, was just kind of like, oh my gosh, everybody's like Johnny and Janie on the spot right now, and it was great. Like really, it was a fantastic weekend. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I knew Guy because Guy was in Texas at the time.
Yeah,
he flew in out of. Okay. I think I helped him a little bit, but partly out of his own pocket, at least partly, because he wanted to do it so badly. Mm-hmm. And I knew him from high school. We did theater together all through high school, and so I knew he was. It's the same thing with Rachel. Like I knew he was a great actor. I knew he was the guy for the part. No pun intended. And it was just great. It was great. He was fantastic, and the movie really does rest on his shoulder and Rachel's shoulder collectively, and I mean, I think it speaks for itself. They killed it.
Right. Tell me about your different experiences as a creative person, Brennan, because you fill so many different roles, from writer to director to you've been director of photography. I mean, I know you do that a lot, especially professionally. So what is your association with filmmaking?
Kind of a broad question.
Yeah, what draws you? What do you really love to do? I mean, so I was surprised.
What do I love to do?
Somebody else, the director of photography. I thought you would. I was expecting to see you there. I was okay. No, this is somebody else. So you did this. So what is your relationship to filmmaking and as a creative endeavor?
Yeah, in regards to Veal, I was heavily involved with the director of photography. You know, the director DP relationship is different depending on the director more than the DP, because there's people like David Fincher and Paul Thomas Anderson who can be their own DPs and go shoot whatever, and then there's people who are more focused on the actors and the script. And like Phantom Thread does not have accredited cinematographer; it just has a gaffer, some camera operators, and that stuff, and then PTA designed all of it. But my relationship to filmmaking, I mean, the thing I love the most is directing, not necessarily writing, but directing. Because I have really strong opinions on things, and that can be good or bad, depending. As long as you're not an asshole about it, I guess it's good. I don't think I'll let Rachel speak to that, but I don't think I would. But there are a lot of stories that I want to tell. I have several ideas for scripts that follow, you know, similar themes of people coming together and this kind of tenderness and things like that I really want to express. And you know, editing I think is really intimately tied in with directing, maybe more so than cinematography. I think editors don't get enough credit. They're a dying breed. A good editor is few and far between. And if you're a good one, then hats off to you, because I know you go through a lot of stuff to get that job done.
Yeah, there's a lot of love
in
the editing process.
Side note, I just read In the Blink of an Eye for the first time, and like that was so inspiring, and like it really made me appreciate editing like even so much more, like just the almost like philosophy behind it, you know. It's very
exactly. That's the big thing today. I think that is this is going on a tangent. I'm sorry, but I think that's missing from a lot of people.
As deep as you want.
Great. I think something that's I see that's missing from a lot of people's work today, like not necessarily people I know, but just people that I like follow and are working in the industry that I like know of and stuff like that. A lot of them don't have like a underpinning, like they know how to make a great image, they know how to make a cool cut and things like that, but there's not a lot of underlying intent or philosophy behind a lot of the things that are happening.
Yeah, there's an effect you're capturing when you edit something, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's a bit of a shame. But
it's like deep thought that can go behind, you know, just the slightest changes in editing, and like, how the audience is reacting to things emotionally. It's like,
it's absolutely part of the storytelling. And, you know, I've even seen it at professional levels, you know, TV shows and movies. And I'm like, are they worried about editing this? Because there's like scenes that are dragging on. I'm like, this should be edited.
Well,
and sometimes I don't know why, you know, they're turning in these movies that are 2.5 hours, and I'm like, it doesn't need to be though. Like, it's just like they don't want to edit it, you know. So like, I don't know. Editing's pretty important, and I'd say critical.
Yeah, I think the saying is that like, you know, the film is made in the editing booth.
I've heard that. Yep, I think I've heard that exact phrase. Like and I mean, have you ever seen different edits of the same film? Sometimes it's astounding.
Director's cut, this cut.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then something like if you've seen like a director's cut, let's say, that's a long-winded scene, and then you see the actual theatrical cut, and you see how they chopped it up. I'm always impressed with how they can cobble together a different feel and message in the story scene by the edits. It's truly astounding. So anyway, I agree with you, Brennan, that editors do not get enough credit.
Amen.
I would
Blade
say
Runner is one that sticks out to my mind.
Yes,
that you were
Blade
talking
Runner is
about.
a great example.
I've actually, it's interesting that I've actually been thinking a lot about editing lately, because what I've been doing is I've been taking the cultists and I've been editing them for shorts. So like, so I've been putting out shorts on YouTube, and then they can go out to other platforms later. But I've been re-editing season 1 as shorts, like in the vertical format, as a short, so they could go out. And I look at that, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, you know what? There's some stuff we could have just dropped, like, because I have so much distance from like season 1 now that I'm like, going back and
years,
like,
right? Like
right. Okay. This, I don't need to show this. Okay. I don't need to show this. I don't need to show. But that's very hard when you are so intimately connected to it. And so I was thinking about that I was thinking, if I were to do like another thing, I might say that, okay, a requirement is going to have to be that the editor has no connection to this at all.
In the blink of the eye, it says that. It talks about how because when you're intimately involved, especially the director, there's so many, there could be a shot that was like so difficult to get right, and you have this like emotional attachment to it because you invested so much, or there's this one that like you were having a bad day and you have these associations with it. And so he was talking about how it's best for the editor to know as little as possible about the production.
I'm completely on board with that.
And I loved this too. They were saying the best thing for the production is for the director to like take a vacation, like just get away for like a week or two in between production and editing, so that they can come back with a fresh.
Right. The director goes away. The editor steps in completely fresh and makes the full edit. I mean, the director has specified this cut, not this cut, that kind of thing, like what is acceptable to go in. The editor gets that and then makes the cut. And then the director steps back.
The editor will be making like an assembly cut first while they're filming, and then director goes away, comes back, and then now we can just look at what we have now, what was planned in the script, but like what do we have, and what is this, what story?
I was just saying that if the director says like this shot not used, that's something's wrong. Like that one is out, this one is in. This one can be used. The director provides that information.
Right.
To the person who has not seen anything else, like take that information in the script and let's produce a show.
Well, I think probably one of the best like examples of a patient and brilliant and beautiful editor was Sally doing all the editing for Quentin Tarantino as long as she did. It may be a little bit provocative to say, but I don't think films have really been his films specifically have been the same since she's passed. Like that, she managed to take all that chaos and find the narrative thread in his work, and she was brilliant.
Well, and something like Pulp Fiction, just the continuity that's included with the editing, you have to get it all right, and it's out of order. Like, I mean,
and she nailed it.
I don't know. That seems like the tallest of orders. What do you know? What her final film was of his?
I want to say it was Inglourious Bastards, but I could be wrong. I'm just like here. If I go and open tabs, I won't even talk to anyone, and I'll be like just like slack jawed for the whole stream. But I want to say it was around Inglourious Bastards. I think that Django Unchained was one of the first ones without Sally.
Interesting. You might be right, because I haven't been as engaged by his newer stuff, and that could be part of the reason. Not that I think it's bad.
Correct me if I'm wrong, please. I'm flying blind here right now, but she was amazing.
Actually, it's making me wonder.
You're like keeping the internet away.
Like I'm just keeping it out of here.
Sometimes there's a secret sauce, and you don't know what it is, and you might be onto something.
Yeah, no, they're it's incredible. Like to be able to see, like to kind of come back to the point of, as a director, being able to kind of zoom out. I think to kind of bring it back to what we were working on, there were definitely a couple of moments, I think, like on set where we were setting up in the basement, and Brennan, being as hands-on as you are, it was kind of one of those moments where it was like they said I can't move stuff, and I want to move stuff or something like that. Like, they were like, you need to get out of the way, and it was just like, and
they wouldn't let me like move lights and stuff.
And I really appreciate it. We were just able to really kind of zoom out and be like, I have everybody here for a reason. I trust everybody here. I'm gonna.
I mean, there was one point.
There
was one point where they were setting up something, and you and me and Guy just sat outside and talked about Avatar: The Last Airbender for like half an hour while they were setting up, and it was oh my god, it was nice. It was so nice.
Well, Rachel, I want to ask you. Excuse me.
Maybe.
If I can, Rachel, I want to ask you the same kind of question I was asking to Brennan about what is your relationship to filmmaking and creativity. I know you were involved in theater as well as filmmaking. So what is it that you do? What is it that you're trying to accomplish and that you're trying to bring to the audience?
Like with this specifically, or just generally
overall? Like your goal. You're right. Yes. What you were.
I would say overall, as much honesty as possible. And I love telling stories. But like, I think we've talked about it before in previous, conversations, that before I was acting, I was writing. At the end of the day, it's a whole storyteller aspect. I love being as honest as I can, and just trying to find that connection where I can. When you are on a film set, you play to the folks around you in that moment, and you have to sort of extrapolate and imagine, well, I don't know who's going to connect to this later because they're not here right now. But I was like, I'm in a situation, and I'm in an environment with peers, and I'm going to trust the crap out of them. And so, I would say overall experiences, I just try to be as honest as I can with the work I do and the people I work with. And then in terms of, I mean, it all just comes from storytelling at the end of the day too. Like I like telling a story, and if that is through performance or through writing or anything else, or food, since I like cooking so much, that's where it all comes from. Overall, is the goal is to just have an honest connection through the work I do, for sure.
That's awesome.
And some fun along the way. It's cool, why not?
Yeah.
Hi. Can I go back to editing for a second? Is there something else I wanted to say? Bringing back to something Brennan said at the beginning, I think. I don't know. There was something you said that triggered this thought about, it was because you were saying about how editing is so like, you were saying that's like deeply integrated with directing more so than cinematography. I think that's really interesting because we were just talking about how like, the director needs to be separate from the editor, but then you and I are both people who just like directed and edited a short film, right? And but like, and I think it's important to also note that like that's really, really valuable, like for directing to think as an editor helps you direct. So both those things can be true at the same time. I just wanted to say that for the sake of the internet.
Well, no, I think what Heath meant on some level is, it's good to have a director's input, and like there's a vision there, and sometimes the editing is where that vision can actually manifest. You can actually get something right or wrong in that edit. However, at some point, I think the director needs to step away so that the editor can make purely editing decisions. Like, for example, I forget, I can't think of an example at the top of my head, but there's a million, where there's a very expensive shot. They spent millions of dollars to build this thing, and there's a huge once-in-a-lifetime explosion. Well, the director's got 9 cameras running. He wants every angle of that expensive explosion. And an editor might be like, hey, we just need like 1 or 2 and let's move on. And a director's going to have a tough time, letting go of that expensive multi-million-dollar shot from 9 different angles. So, that's where I think you need an editor to step in beyond the director's vision to help with those pure editing decisions.
That's kind of what I was saying, like
right, that's what I thought you meant.
But like, Brianna and I did an exercise about a month ago where we went through all of the Cultist season 3 scripts. There was a lot of distance between us and those scripts, which was temporal. There's been a lot of time since we've looked at that. And so when we sat down and we looked at all those scripts, we went through and we made a very, an assessment of those scripts about like, hey, what's working, what's not. And there was a lot of stuff that's not working. Is this worth shooting? How would we change those things? We were able to make those assessments because there'd been a lot of time between the time that we had written them and the time. And as we've grown, we've done whole table talks. I mean, we've done a year of table talks about story structure and story writing and studying all of this between those things. And so that represents growth as storytellers. So how do you get, like, when you're in the midst of something like this, when you're editing something, how do you get that kind of distance between the writer and the director and the editor? Well, one way that you can, and the director of photography, like if all these are the same rules, all the same people who are fulfilling, mixed roles, it's very difficult to get that kind of distance because you can't do time. Like we can't shoot it and then, all right, now 2 years later, we'll come and edit it.
Well, you can take some time. You can take some time.
You could, but I mean, like if you spend a year, like, okay, we shot it now, a year later, we'll come back and edit it. Oh, well, I mean, okay, maybe that's one way, but another way is to have another person step in who is not emotionally attached as the writer, the director, or the director of photography to come in and say, here's the script and here's what was shot. Now, what makes the best film? So having another person.
And don't underestimate experience. Like you just said, you rewatched The Cultist and you're like, this could have gone. The next time you do something like this, you'll start to spot those moments quicker. And, or experienced editor might be like, hey, trust me, this has got to go. I've seen this before.
Brianna and I did the work through of season 3, just scripts, but I think it would be extremely valuable later on, Brianna, and maybe even Brennan too, that if we sat down and we went through season 1 and even season 2, especially, like, okay, now what would we not do? Now, like, look at this and go, okay, now what's working here and what is okay, now this is this.
I feel like mentally, I'd rather just move on and make new things. But mentally, I mean, it's good to learn from that. But
well, no, it's right because but if you're like if like I'm saying, like if we're gonna go on and do something with season 3, one of the things I want to do was to look at season 2 very critically and say, now, what do we think works and what do we think do not work? Because we want to make sure we do not make those same mistakes again. So if we look at this as a critical exercise, I think that would be valuable to say we're not going to duplicate these mistakes. Here's something that's not working, so we don't want to do that again before you move on to the next project.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if this was answered yet, but just out of pure curiosity for both Brennan and Rachel, what are you working on now?
Yeah, I want to know that.
Well, oddly enough, writing. No.
What's the shirt?
I am on my end. I'm working on. I think Brennan and I have talked about it before. Have we talked about whippersnappers before?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Kyle, if you're watching,
the concept is fuzzy, but yes, I know we
have. No, I was going to say, Kyle, if you are watching, we are going to be talking in the next couple of weeks. We are at a place where there's a script I worked on a while back, and I'm just hitting a place with it where I'm like, I'm really happy with where this is. It's definitely been a process. It's very hard to write something that comes from a very personal place. And I definitely, while it's hard, I've also enjoyed that process. And I'm at a place where I'm just like, there's been a couple of moments where it could go somewhere this way or the other. And I'm kind of like, okay, I need to start talking to people and see what they want to do. So I'm going to be reaching out to him soon. We'll probably talk as well. But other than that, we sort of talked about it on the anniversary episode, working on the best way I can describe it is a young adult cozy fiction series where it's fantasy. We've got a house on a crab's back. We have lots of eccentric characters. It's very much a found family, like the people that you meet along the way are your family kind of thing. It's very much in rough drafts and parsing it out. And what if we tried this? What if we did this? What if we did that? So that will probably be the rest of the summer or the autumn, like
possibly fall. Yeah.
Possibly fall. Yeah. But that's really it. I mean, acting wise, if something really cool jumps up, we'll check it out. But for the most part, I'm really enjoying just digging into writing. So that's
awesome.
kind of where I'm at right now. And obviously, I love getting on here and talking to everybody. But it's just been fun, kind of writing and cooking and hanging out. So that's on this end of the farm.
How far are you into your writing?
I'd say we're about halfway through, only because we're only so far removed from the most recent anniversary episode. We're about halfway through, where we're kind of hitting a point where we've mapped out most of where we want the series to go and what we want it to do. But in terms of at least the first installment, yeah, we're about halfway through a rough draft of the first volume. Wow. The idea is kind of a Lemony Snicket approach, where they are these very digestible novellas that you could eventually just sandwich together and just plow through if you wanted to.
So these are novellas that you're talking about? Is that okay?
Yeah, so about like 75,000 words max each.
I think that would still be considered a novel.
Yeah, I think technically that's a novel, sure. But if we hit that point, then yeah, we'll take novel over novella. But the idea is for it to be like, no, anyone can kind of come and hang out in this world and read it and enjoy these characters and go on this journey with them. Obviously, as we get closer to finishing things up, I'll have different updates to give when we do these. But this is,
if I may, hi, disembodied voice.
I was saying this is.
Should we see who the disembodied voice is?
Get in here. It's okay.
The one man no one wants to talk to. No.
I was gonna say this is the person I'm working with.
Hello.
So.
Hello. Hi.
Hello, person.
And you are. Who are you?
My name is Sean Reagan. I am esteemed warehouse manager and co-writer with this beautiful woman right here. No, our plan initially, when we first started going into the novella or the novel plan, was to have it have a core continuity, a core story going, but also having it be borderline episodic with some of the books, to where you could, if you got stuck into maybe just one or two books, you could still have a cohesive story with a start and end point, but then you would have overarching stuff in between. Yeah. So
that's what we're working on. That's what I'll be doing. So if it's like, hey, do you want to film this thing? Maybe. I'm kind of enjoying this.
Cool. Lemony Snicket model. Yes. I like that.
Yeah. So we'll be around. We'll let you know how it goes.
Very cool.
Please do. Absolutely.
Okay. Yes, and also yes, of course, if there's ever a technical issue again too.
Right.
Thank you. But yeah.
James Bacon asks, are the names Jordan and Webb indicating anything? Are they the tips of your hat towards some kind of subtextual character identity? Apologies if this has already been asked, but I've been in and out of chat.
Not so much with Jordan. Webb a little bit, spiders and whatever. It's not that deep, really. It's like really half-baked. And I had watched The Amazing Spider-Man 2 or something, and the only thing I liked about that movie was the director's last name. So I just decided to use it. It's not incredibly deep. I don't find a lot of joy in finding names for characters. That's like one of the least important things for me personally. Yeah, unless it was something we're like kind of like Dune, where there's a character who's really like an archetypal type figure or something like that, then I just don't. It doesn't really mean that much to me, beyond just sounding right. But PH Arbex asked an interesting question a while ago that I'd love to.
Is this one right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Should writing and directing also be in sync? I find it challenging to write a script without stepping into the director's territory. I'm very authorial, but I have little interest in directing.
Oof.
In my personal opinion, even as a writer-director, when I'm writing the script, I try to put as little in there that would influence how someone would direct it. That's a personal taste. There are writers who are like, and then the camera zoomed in and and then it width right and all this, and it's very, very explicit what you should be doing. But and
Directors
like
just
and
ignore
really, yeah,
All that stuff.
They will
doing it anyway.
100% ignore that.
And the other thing
You're
that
like,
I
that's
don't
nice.
really, the other thing I think writers, the other person who I think writers owe something to are the actors. And I think it's also not incredibly helpful. Some actors may disagree. I don't know if Rachel agrees or not, but for me, when I was acting, I didn't find it very helpful to have like a little parentheses before the text that said sad. He sadly said.
Oh
or,
yeah,
like,
you can't.
he
Acting
threw
for
his
the
arms up.
character, basically.
Yeah, I think a lot of that work, I think a lot of that should be decided on between the director and the actor, what exactly that is. And as a writer, you can leave in like a path,
Context,
or like
yeah.
or context, something to build off of. I think that should definitely be there. But I think as soon as you get into the territory of, as a writer, being like, this has to happen in the edit and the actor has to do it this way, then you're like losing sight of writing.
Well, and the actor might pull something out of a script that the writer didn't even intend, and it's a great thing, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the actor's job. They're reading that character, they're reading that script, and they're trying to find that line. They're trying to find the subtext, and you know, they're performing. A lot of times, writers can be problematic in the movie making process. There are stories where the writer's input is useful and helpful and saved the day, but there's a lot of other stories where that's been the opposite too.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, I completely agree with what Brennan said as another writer director here. It's those are two different tasks. And like, I think it's really important, even if you are like in a position where you know you are going to direct what you're writing, like you have to be able to separate those two things in order to write well. Because it's like, I think that there's a kind of a temptation that a lot of writers have, is that because you're the one creating the story, you also want to like control it. You have this movie in your head and you're just like I want to force this exact thing to happen. And that's not actually your role. Like, you're creating the bones, I would say. And like, you've got to trust that the actors are going to do their job. The director's going to do their job. And you're giving them what they need in order to do that job without doing it for them, is how I put that. You know, like, you're not choosing the shots, you're not choosing what direction what choices the actors are making, but you might give like the whatever subtext they might need, if it's like really important, like it would, make a big difference in the story one way or another. But even then they might go differently. Like, you have to let
I had a funny experience even doing the audiobook of Faraway Bird, where the narrator was reading this thing and I was listening to it and I was like, I felt like a director. I'm like, she's shouting. She's in an arena and she's shouting. Can you do it one more time? But like projecting you. Anyway, but yeah, and then other times there was things that she did that the way I had it in my head was vastly inferior to the way she read it and like performed it. So, it could go either way on some of those things.
It's funny. I'm just getting through doing an audiobook now, and it's really interesting to get feedback from the author where she's like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm feeling for this is what I'm feeling for that. And I'm just
okay, well, she's an audiobook reader, by the audiobook narrator.
Yeah,
I have this because of her recommendations. Yes.
Wow. I recognize that.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
But it's fun. I mean, man, like going through and doing audiobooks and doing VO is like, there's something so liberating and so freeing about it, because it really is so one-on-one. And it's really cool to get feedback about it where you're like, I didn't know I was doing that. I was just kind of like, I'm vibing on this for this chapter. But thanks. So that's cool. That's interesting that you say that, where you're like, oh wow, I wasn't like hearing that, but then hearing it back, it's just it's fun.
Yeah.
It's really
well,
cool,
and it was a positive experience both
Yeah.
ways. She actually said that she appreciated some of the few times. I only did it a couple of times where I thought there was something that had been missed in the delivery, but they were few and far between, but they were like real critical things that I thought mattered. But it was interesting. And she also did all this research of like researching like how to pronounce something in Latin and Greek and Armenian and like all, like I actually had to pay extra for all this research that she did for all these different accents that were included. Plus there was a piece of music that a friend of mine wrote, and performed that I passed on to her so she could sing. It was crazy. It was pretty wild. There was a lot going on in one little audio.
Yeah.
I want to say one more thing about the script writing thing, because I actually had a really interesting conversation with a friend about this who I'm about to be a director of photography for his short film. And I think it's a really well-written piece of material. But we were talking about if you want to, like we were talking about kind of slightly influencing or providing context or a structure. One of the ways you can do that is with like spacing, like line spacing, repetition. Like it helps you emphasize different elements. And then also things like using ellipses or a dash or something like that. Because there was this one particular instance we were breaking down his script and he didn't really space anything out. He really only used commas. And for one part, it was supposed to be very kind of hypnotic. And I kind of did my own pass on it. And I took all the commas out and replaced them with ellipses at the end of everything, and instead of periods, ellipses. And you know, stuff like that. There was this character supposed to slam a fridge door shut, and he had a comma there, and like he slammed it shut, comma, forcefully or something like that. And I changed it to a dash, or I suggested change it to a dash or something like that, and it like changed how it felt. And I think that would influence how an actor performs it as well. So if you want to have more influence on your writing without being obnoxious, I guess, that's a really good way to do that. Just affect how it's read.
In a script, are you allowed to put italics, like a word in italics, like if you want them to stress that word?
You can do anything.
Oh,
you
okay.
can do anything in the script.
Yeah, I would agree with Brennan. I mean, like ellipses, dashes, yeah, anywhere where you can already have these built-in tools with your syntax when you are writing, it really can determine that pace. You don't have to put a lot of things parenthetically in your script if you have these beats. It's like the difference between a major and a minor chord, and having those markers and having that placement.
More visual.
You know, yeah, you see a dash, you see ellipses, you see in italic or something emboldened, like that will tell you everything you need to know. And then if not, that's why you have someone helming the ship as well when the writer can't be there. Hopefully your director has gone through and just looked for those nuances and in that writing. And I think at the end of the day, it's just a big old relationship, and it's all communication.
It's all collaborative. Like the story's told in the edit. It's also, you know, someone's that's an old adage about like how it's written. It's the story's told 3 times, right, by the writer, by the director, and then by the editor. And it's like that's also all these people. One of the things that I love about filmmaking as opposed to other forms of storytelling, though I also love writing for novels. It's like because you put all these brains together, and there are all these different, you know, just ideas and creative input, it becomes something much better than like any one particular mind could create. So I think if you're just writing something and you're giving it away to someone else to direct, or, you know, it's being sold or whatever, like you have to trust that to a certain degree. Like obviously they could be terrible and it might ruin your story. But that is how it's supposed to be, that it's supposed to be all these different minds in collaboration, creating something better than any one of them could have done on their own. So that's how it should be.
Yeah, I believe in synergy too, where other people add dimensions to an idea like that make it better. I believe in that, and I've experienced it, and I love watching it, and I love even hearing people tell stories about that. I think you guys were even talking about while filming Veal some of the how things came together, or people seem to instinctively know something that you were thinking, and like, oh, that's all very exciting when that happens.
Yeah, very. when it's your baby too, especially, and you just see everyone like spark together on it. It's like, oh, thank God. I don't have to do that much today. It's great.
Just enjoy the process. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was wonderful. And I feel like there was a lot of communication through your script where there was just room to interpret. And I think because there was so much room to interpret, that's where there was comfort in, like, you know, finding things you know, personally speaking with my character, and having even a comfort level of checking in with Guy while we were doing scene work, you know, having that room in the script, you know, it's like Brandon was saying, there's a level of trust. And when you read a script that has a lot of trust in it, like this one did, it's so easy to just take it and interpret and collaborate and communicate and tell a story. Like, even if it's written on paper, kind of, you know, the tri-step of what's written, what's directed, and what's edited. There's just room to do that. So,
well, and that's kind of unique to filmmaking, that there's that many people involved and everyone specializes at something different, and you're collaborating, you're working together, you have different actors in the same scene. Like that's kind of the beauty of filmmaking, is that whole, you know, collaborative process that goes on there, you know, even as a writer, there's a lot of people behind the scenes that help you. I mean,
that's true.
Brianna and I were talking about just how many people provide feedback and everything just in writing a single book. So even though that seems like a solitary process, there's so many other people.
Yeah, you look at the acknowledgments at the end of any book.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And the book wouldn't have worked without all those other people, you know?
I've always wondered what those were there for.
You never read them?
Thanks. Thanks, guys, for being patient. Appreciate it.
I think this has been an
Hydrated.
amazing conversation. I think this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for sharing this short film with us, Brennan, and allowing us to show it on screen and talk about it. Because, like I said, so many times, you know, when you're doing like a watch party or something in some analysis, you can't even show the thing on screen because you don't own it. You know, it's like, okay, we're going to do a watch through of some kind of Star Wars thing, and you can't even show it on screen. But we've been able to do that here on Table Talk because it's been things that we don't like. We've done that with Brianna, done that with Brennan. Now we'll do that with some cultists. So it's nice to be able to actually show up on screen some of the things that we're talking about, and you know, which is seems like rare on a lot of YouTube streams. So thank you for allowing us to do that.
No, thank you for sharing it with everybody.
Are either of you watching House of the Dragon?
Yes.
No.
Oh, you're watching House of the Dragon? Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. I did a House of the Dragon immediate reaction last
impromptu
after episode 1, but then I was sick. So I might have to invite you back then, Rachel, then for some House of the Dragon then. So
hey, wait a minute. Brennan's
it's about to get crazy.
But Brennan didn't get to answer a question you asked earlier, Heath.
Oh, I didn't? Okay, Brennan.
Yeah, what are you working on right now?
Yeah.
Oh, Brennan never answered that
face again.
Okay, so Brennan never
I'm doing a lot of things. I'm in post for another short film. I think we're picture locked. I'm going to go through it again, give myself some space away from it and check. But I got some really positive feedback from a friend of mine who I really trust. So I think we're picture locked on that. And now I just have to work on the sound, which is my least favorite part. But it's also oddly one of the more creative parts. That's a whole other conversation. As far as professional work goes, I've got my own company now. I'm trying to get it off the ground as a commercial production company.
Exciting.
And I'm also freelancing like crazy. I have one, you could call them a retainer client. You couldn't say I'm employed by them because it's a 1099. But so I guess a retainer client with Alabama Values and Alabama Values Progress. They are a nonprofit that's about raising political awareness in Alabama, and it's like documentary news type stuff. So I'm doing a lot of work with them right now, and I think might be making some more headway into greater networks and in the industry at the moment. And so we're just working like crazy.
Awesome.
I mean, you deserve it. You and Megan both. You guys are amazing at what you do. Really,
Man,
that's awesome
you.
to hear. Hell yeah.
You are. I mean, you know you are. Like, God, I want to direct more stuff, and I want you to be in it so bad.
We'll do it if it aligns. It aligns. But like at the end of the day, I mean, do your thing, man. It's so fun. It's so fun and so exciting to watch everything you're doing. So that's awesome. Congrats, dude. Really. Congrats.
Yeah. Send us the book. I want to be in the acknowledgments.
Okay. They'd be like, thanks. Thanks for keeping us
Anytime.
Anytime. No, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, I think this has been fantastic. Hey, tell both Brennan and Rachel, both let us know where we can find you. If I need to bring that up on screen, I will, so that you know where people
Brennan's
know
a deer
what's
in
going on.
headlights now.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
what's your
No, don't find me.
where do people go to find out where you're doing?
Oh, Brennan, after you.
Uh,
I was going to say,
sure.
we stole the
Sure.
camera earlier, so after you.
Sure. You can find me on Instagram at Brennan Martignoni. Good luck spelling it. I wish I could type it out for you. And you could also find me on YouTube under the same name. That's going to be a lot less frequent of a post, and Instagram is already not very frequent. So,
okay, but we got it right here. Right here.
Yes. Yeah.
Here you go. I'll put this link in the chat right here.
There I am. That's me with the last Yeah, that's my Instagram. So you can find me there, and it's the same name on YouTube.
All right, let me see if I can find it.
Thanks, Heath.
Because the film is on YouTube. If you want to watch it again, you want to watch it direct, it is on YouTube, right? And is that on your YouTube channel?
It is. It is. And this next film, we may do a festival circuit for it, but I'm not going to delay putting it out on YouTube or anything like that. I'm kind of tired of doing that because they should have been out a long time ago. So there will be another short film soon.
Oh, right here. Right?
Yes.
There he is.
Yep. That's the one.
So there you go. So if you want to watch
there's
Veal
an old
again,
film on there too.
Check the back. Okay, and then Veal right here.
That one has another cultist actor in it, doesn't it? Yeah, it has Dax.
Yes, it does. It's weird. It's like we got good actors for the cultist or something.
I don't know. Yeah, it's strange.
We did.
I don't know how that happened.
So definitely watch those. Check the back has Dax Rocker in it, and then Veal has Rachel Marshall. You got 5,000 views. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Rachel, how about you? Where do we go to find you?
I'm on Instagram at Yes Chef Marshall. I'm a little bit of a social media shut-in and just in life. So if you don't mind occasional updates and maybe some food porn every now and then, like I love cooking. I love like just random projects. Trying to get into doing more of the travel stuff. So if you don't mind some incredibly inconsistent posting, you can follow me there. And obviously as things come up, you can see there's a little spot for Veal right there too. As things come up, they'll be on there.
Also
fluidity.
Guy Bannister. Yeah. Also Guy Bannister. If you want to give him a follow.
Oh yeah.
He's on Instagram at Keeper of the Tomes _ Yeah.
Let me find it. I'll find it. Keeper of the Tomes.
The Tomes. Yep. _ Don't forget, it's a very important element.
Otherwise, you'll get the wrong Keeper of the Tones.
Otherwise,
oh my gosh, what is this?
There's no underscore.
You don't want the other one. You really don't want the other one.
Now I'm curious to know what the other one is.
No, don't do it, Brianna. Don't do it.
We're about to get Schrodinger's Brianna.
I'm not finding it.
Same. While he's searching,
his isn't public; it's private.
Oh, it's private anyway. Oh, okay.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Brianna will get through that and report back next week.
I'll report.
You won't believe what I found.
Very cool.
Is he anywhere else? If people wanted to look him up, or
that's all he gave us when we were talking earlier was Instagram. So you can follow him there. He's probably expecting one person at least. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
Was it Tones as in TONES?
M as in mackerel.
Is that what you put, Heath?
Yeah, Tomes right?
I'm sorry. I liked M as in mackerel. Maybe a little.
But I can't.
I was like, yeah.
Only bug.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being here. I think this was a fantastic episode. I love the episodes where you get to talk about where we're actually doing things, because it's not just about being a critic. It's also about actually doing things and making art and getting the things we're trying to do out to the world. So this is definitely one of those episodes. So thank you very much, Brennan and Rachel, for being here.
Yeah. No, thanks for having us.
And thank you very much, Brianna and Doug, for coming on and doing the commentary.
Oh, happy to support independent works, independent artists.
Really glad you didn't hate the film.
Oh yeah, always a plus. Yeah.
Yeah. Stream would have gotten really awkward really fast.
Just like trying to pretend like, that was good.
Definitely
solid
looking forward to
minus.
I'm looking forward to talking more like these other short filmmakers doing this dragon thing. So we'll talk to
Okay, I'm going to reach out to you. It's possible. I'm thinking about on Sunday, assuming I'm not sick again, Sunday doing a immediate reaction to the House of the Dragon, but also like spoiler free. But I was also thinking maybe we should do like a more in-depth analysis of what we've seen. I have not read the book yet, but we'll see.
No.
God, I read it like 4 years ago, so I don't. Yeah. It's back then. It's like mostly abstract historical overview, so I just didn't retain as much as I thought.
All right. Well, thank you so much,
guys, and we're really glad you liked it. And y'all's comments have been awesome, like really very.
Well, everybody, and also thank you to everybody who's been here in the chat and everybody who will be watching on a replay. Fantastic having you here. Assuming I'm not dead in the morning, I'll be live on Heath's Geekverse talking about creating the Cultist RPG tomorrow at 9:00 in the morning. So be there for that. I will talk to everybody later. See you in the morning, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, everybody. Thank